It's the 26th of April, 2021. It's a Monday morning, and it just seems like any other Monday morning. I've had a nice weekend with the family. I've got a couple of meetings in the office, quite a steady start to my week. I've got a bank holiday coming up. I've got the weekend booked away with friends and family, so it looks like it's going to be a great week ahead. But little did I know that in just 2 hours' time, my whole professional career, my 27 years in my corporate world, would be turned upside down just like that. And I'm going to come back to that. It's 1994. I'm 18. I've just finished my A-levels, maths, accounts, economics, all set to take on the world and go to university. But I've decided to take a year out. I'm sat there with my mum. We're looking through the paper. I've done a couple of years, not only doing my A-levels, but working in a local builder's merchant. And there it is in the classified. It's a job in a builder's merchant that's relocating into my hometown. So mum says, why don't you give it a go? Taking a year out, go and see if this is an opportunity for you. So I turn up in my lovely green suit, fresh face, nice little gold earring in, go and have my first interview. And within 2 interviews, I've landed my first job and I'm on the corporate ladder. I'm a costings clerk on a whopping £7,000 a year, and I've got my first corporate job. I've also landed on my feet. What I didn't realise was I managed to get on a 2-year graduate programme in this business. So I got to tour their branches, their network, got to meet other graduates, and also experience a number of different central functions. 2 years later, I got my first promotion to a product assistant, and this was where I guess my drug and addiction to working in corporate and wanting the next job really came to fruition. I don't think I ever had a time when I stopped and paused and actually enjoyed the job I was doing. I was always looking for that next job. I was like a sponge. Yeah, I was young, I was keen, and I wanted to get on. And this was a business that was going places. I had loads of opportunities. I kept putting my hand up. I was really keen to get involved in acquisitions, in mergers, to keep putting my hand up and grow and learn and develop. We bought some businesses in Europe, so I got to travel a bit during my mid-20s. And then I got to, I don't know, maybe 26, 27, and then had my first opportunity to lead a team of people. I had some great bosses that probably believed in me more than I believed in myself at this stage. And they gave me the opportunity to lead some people. For the first time, I realized that it wasn't all about me and how I would lead, but how I could lead through others to still get a result. And people management isn't easy. Even to this day where I've managed teams, it's often very challenging. Got another promotion at this point. So I think this was my 7th job by this point in this organization in 13 years. I was a general manager and I was leading quite a big team of people when the phone rang, and it was a headhunter. And they wanted to talk to me about an opportunity in one of the biggest rivals actually for this organization. And it was my first opportunity to potentially go and be a director. So at the age of 31, went along, met 3 people, and ended up with this job in this big organization. And I had a real moment of self-doubt. You know, this was a big step up. It was closer to home, which was great. It was a lot more money. It was a lot more opportunities. It was a much bigger team in a big organization. And could I do it? You know, could I step in? Whilst it was the same industry, it was different people, different challenges. And I had to basically reinvent myself and go and prove that I could do it all over again. But I did. And very quickly in this business, 3 years later, my boss then, he retired. So I got an opportunity to step into another bigger role. A few years later, I got another bigger role. And guess what? I was back into an organization where I was chasing the next job and never content in the job that I was in. And why was I doing this? I looked back, you know, I lost my dad who was 62, never made it to retirement. And I think that really resonated with me in terms of, you know, I had to push. In my head, I didn't want to miss out on retirement. I wanted to work as hard as I could and as much money as possible, and felt that was the absolute best thing for my family to make sure that we could live a happy, prosperous life and have a retirement. It was another really acquisitive business. So I learned loads, worked with consultants, loads of mergers, loads of acquisitions, restructures, learned an awful lot of stuff. About 10 years into this business, I then started to get a bit bored. I started to think, is this actually what I want to do? Now, I'd gone through a few cycles. I was working really hard. But the first time you do things, it's interesting. The second, third, or fourth time, it starts to be less so. And that's something that I've realized that is really important to me, is I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to develop. That's what keeps me infused in a job role. So I started to have these niggling doubts. Then, of course, we had COVID. Right? Who can't forget, such a pivotal moment in all of our lives, something that probably many of us haven't experienced anything like it, or indeed, hopefully we'll ever experience anything like it again. And this got me a reset. So don't get me wrong, business was really tough. There was many people furloughed. I was a senior person in this business, but we suddenly got locked at home. We were working in this environment where I was seeing my kids every day. I was seeing my wife every day. I was investing in myself. I could exercise in the morning rather than do this commute. I was less grumpy. I was less tired. And suddenly thought, you know what? Maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe my formula of working so hard and putting myself out there and being away from the family, maybe this isn't the thing. This isn't the magic ingredient. Maybe I've got this wrong. Then, of course, we came out of COVID and we started to go back in. And then guess what? There's a job that I'd always wanted, but never quite had the opportunity to throw my hat in the ring, that came up. It was a vacancy. And I thought, this is it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for this particular job role. Threw my hat in the ring, but actually, by the time I'd met the director who was looking for this job, he'd already picked somebody. He actually said to me, "Look, this isn't for you. And if anything, we think you're an expert. We think you've got too much of a specialism in terms of what you're doing to be the right person for this job." And I remember reflecting on it, thinking, yeah, seriously, I've been doing procurement expertise in building materials for 27 years. Of course I bloody know what I'm doing. This is what I'm paid to do, is be an expert, be very good at delivering results. How can that be a bad thing? So that frustrated me. And I remember going away thinking, I don't know what I need to do in this business to show that I'm capable of getting, this next role. But I hunkered down, I focused, and 12 months later, give or take, it's the 26th of April, 2021. I'm driving into the office. I've got a meeting with my boss, and I walk into the office and I think, something's not right. I've sort of said hello, tried to make a little bit of a joke about the weekend, a bit of small talk, and thought something's not right. The mood isn't working here. Got asked to sit down, which I thought was very formal for a one-to-one. And these are normally quite kind of laid back. And then I got told the words that no one ever wants to hear. And I'd heard these before, partly because I'd delivered, sadly, some of these words myself. And it was these words: I need to have a difficult conversation with you. So immediately my brain has gone into like survival mode. I know what's happening. I know what's going on. And I just sat there for about 10 minutes listening to this person talk about why the business was going in a different direction, how my skills weren't necessarily appropriate, and ultimately that my role was no longer going to be mine, that I was actually being asked to leave the business. Got given a piece of paper. At this point, I'm shocked, I'm surprised, I'm angry, I'm hurt, all these emotions going through my mind. Walk to the car park, kind of throw the piece of paper in my car, tried to ring my wife. Fortunately, she didn't pick up at this point, and just drove home in absolute complete silence. This is 27 years of working in my corporate life and gone, bang, just like that. That's the piece that probably hurt the most. So I drive home, I walk into the kitchen, my wife looks at me as if to say, what the hell are you doing home? It's the middle of the day, you don't come home at this time. And I just looked at her and said, I think I've just lost my job. I think that I'm not sure I'm here. I don't know what's going on. And she came over, partly thinking I was joking, gave me the biggest hug. And then we sat down and she started to try and work out what the hell had happened. And I was like a little boy lost. I was completely gone at this point. I didn't know what to feel. I was just numb, completely and utterly numb that this could happen. But she was great. We got to work the next kind of week or two. We sorted things out. We agreed what was going to happen. And this is the pivot, right? So I got put with this amazing outplacement coach. He talked to me and really got me to focus on what I could do differently. What did I want to achieve? Did I want to go back into this type of job? Did I want to do something completely different? And I tell you this now, I was 100% committed to not going back into that type of environment. I did not want to be in a business or any business that had the complete hold on whether my career was going to be successful or not, that could ultimately change my world in a heartbeat. So I decided to set my own business up. Ironically, set up on the day that my dad would have had his birthday. So that was about a month after I left this business. And a month later, I got my first contract. And I was like, oh my God, this is so different. And again, talking about the pivot, what I did was set a lifestyle business up. I took control. And let's be honest, one of the darkest days I've ever had in my life was that day. One of the darkest days. It still hurts to this day. It's the first time I've talked publicly about actually how much this particular thing hurt. But I used it to my advantage. My wife said to me on that day, this will be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And I didn't believe her. But actually, do you know what? It really was. It forced me to take a decision, go back to what I said earlier about not necessarily enjoying what I was doing, questioning whether I was doing the right thing and the time I was spent away, to reset my model, my business, my lifestyle, and be there to show up more consistently for my wife, my family, my friends. I'm a non-exec for a business. I manage to chair a charity now, which I've made a real priority, a charity that's really dear to me. And I've enabled to set this business up to do all the things that I think are really important. And that's what you can do. Not necessarily set your own company up, but you can do anything. The person in control of your life isn't your boss, isn't an organization. It's you. You have the power to do whatever you choose to do. And like me, I was 45 when this happened to me, having done 27 years in corporate. I thought, what the bloody hell am I going to do after that? I thought I was institutionalized, but no, I've changed, I've pivoted. I've got a business now that is amazing, doing something that I love in an expert area that I was told was a weakness. I've turned that to an absolute strength, and I'm loving what I'm doing. And you too can love what you do, but you have to take control and you have to have the initiative to go and do it yourself. So look, I really, really hope that you've enjoyed my talk today. I hope this resonates with you. I hope you've taken even a little bit of inspiration that you can